Ho, ho, ho.
Well, it's time for the Brewing Controversy Christmas special. If you are tuned in, you will be seeing us having recorded this live, digesting all the shitty news from the weekend of politics and social topics. I am Lucas. This is David. Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm not bad. I brought all my jolly attire. I have my bottoms up Santa fake sweater, and
I'm wearing red. That's
that works. I didn't have time to tell you to dye your beard. You could have gone full Santa with the gray or something. That'd be fun, right? Anyway, thanks for tuning in to our special Christmas episode. In the effort to actually have some time for holiday cheer, we decided that this would be a fun way to approach things because we're bringing our Christmas lists, our Dear Democrat Santa and Little Baby Jesus holiday special Christmas list will be read tonight, into the official record of our recording. So, so happy Monday. It's Monday for us. It'll be Thursday when we drop this, and I like your Christmas flannel. I decided that my big goofy moose ears would be the moose antlers would be the way to go. So we will do much of the same things. You will see us banter about our 5 wish list items. You will see us banter about our beer, and then we will dig in on a certain Grinch, a certain Scrooge, a certain specific individual who we simply cannot let go unaddressed in this season of giving. So if you end up tuning into this, we want you to do something different. Instead of the live commentary, leave your dear liberal baby Jesus, dear Democrat Santa wishes in the comments so that once it's Christmas morning, we can all come back to this post and read through the infinitely witty selection of, I'm sure, lots of snarky and funny, insightful things. So, without further ado, we would like to welcome you to the show. Welcome to Brewing Controversy. Let's kick this thing off. Hello, we're back. We're here. It's so hard to have joy. It's so hard.
right now. It's a little rough.
When I read headlines like January 6th rioter gets nearly 4 years in prison for assaulting police officer, and he looks like he hit every ugly branch of the meth tree on the way down, that's not bad. But anyway,
what's a little light, but
what's bringing you joy, if anything, in the headlines before we get to our wishes and our negatives?
Chile actually yesterday rejected their I'm completely not a Nazi, even though my daddy was a Nazi, because he so wasn't, even though the German government has records of him being a Nazi. Lost
I saw this
to
headline.
Chile's youngest president,
Yeah.
who has promised to the leftists have held on, and they will be writing the new Chilean constitution, the first one since they removed Pinochet from power in 1990.
It's a big win for hashtag millennials too. Evidently.
Right. I mean, it's a huge win because
this is one of yours,
right. It is a huge win in that for most people don't realize while we were having the George Floyd protests, there were riots all throughout Chile against inequality, against people were being forced out of their homes. Chile tried to privatize a bunch of utilities. They tried to privatize the public transit system. They tried to privatize the water system. And there were a bunch of riots, and a lot of people got together. They said, "No, we're going to have a new constitution." It was a little frightening there for a second because this guy Kurtz, who is completely not a Nazi.
Interesting name.
Yeah, right.
To try to not be a Nazi. If you have consonants jammed together ending in Z, you might have to check the history.
Well, his dad was from Germany, he did arrive after World War II, and the German government confirmed that he was, in fact, a member of the Nazi Party.
Oopsie.
Right? But he actually won the first round of voting, and people were, it really galvanized enough people to stand up, and people thought it was going to be close. It wasn't even close.
Right. Yeah. It was decisive, like a 60-something percentage.
Yeah. The leftists took it by 10 points. It's also the first time that, and again, I'm not a communist, but I feel like they should be present at the table, as opposed to Nazis who do not belong at the table. But the communists actually participated this time and decided to go with obviously not a communist, but at least someone who is left and someone who is going to promote social equality and better living standards for all Chileans.
Well, it sounds really promising. I was excited to hear that. That was in my my morning NPR round. It was one of the 3 stories from the whatever that show. I listened to the one show that expands on the 3 top stories. I forgot the name of the damn thing. My morning routine is start up the app, listen to Michigan Radio, which is the NPR station that's dominant here for their local stuff. Actually, no, it's Michigan Radio, then national news, then the Michigan Radio reports of the actual local news, and then it goes into the 3 big topics. I can't believe I can't remember the stupid name of that show. But anyway, I also made my donation. I donated to NPR in Nashville, WPLN, and did that at some point. I forgot when I was feeling like it was like one of the last bastions of hope for honest journalism that we could depend on. So then I decided, I can't renew that. I mean, I could, but I'd rather pay in here. So I went ahead yesterday and jumped in on the NPR here. So it is the season for that. If you're out there and you like your NPR, if you got the cash to spare it, give it.
Yeah, definitely.
They need that support. So it is time for us to sit on the virtual Santa lap. And we've each brought a wish list, our Dear Democrat Santa wish list. And we've got 5 items that we sat down and thought, if we wake up on Saturday and the world could be a better place, what would that look like? What do we ask Democrat Santa and little baby liberal Jesus for? So I brought my 5. You got your 5?
I got my 5 in front of me.
I think I'm going to let you go first because it just seems fair. So you're on the hot seat. What's number 1 on your Dear Democrat Santa list?
Number 1, every American student borrower receives, in the finest replication of St. Nicholas, reprieve from their debts. Right now, a conservative estimate of what American student borrowers owe is around $2.5 trillion in debt. And the problem is that a lot of us, myself included, have gone out to the market with this higher education expecting higher returns. But the problem is that the way the market is panned out for my generation is between 2 major recessions, is that we haven't seen those higher returns in exchange for what we borrowed, expecting to be able to pay it off, right? With those higher salaries. And we didn't get those. So I think if we want to really jumpstart the American economy, one of the things that's been really shocking, and this is a slight tie-in, is how much generational wealth has been lost and has now been moved to hedge funds and the investor class. One of the things that we're probably going to talk about next show is this piece that the Washington Post has put up about Rutherford County, where hedge funds have bought up 1 in 10 homes in the entire county, and are charging ever increasing rents. Right now, with rent forgiveness being ended, we're seeing a lot of people being kicked out, and these people, there's no wealth that they're generating by owning property. That's one of the nice things about owning a home is when you die or you need money, you have something to borrow against. And so much of my generation has lost out on that ability to generate that wealth, to borrow that money, to do any of that, because we can't get out from underneath these student loan debts. So if we really want to improve the economy, if we really want to improve income inequality and inequality in general, forgiving those debts would be a massive boon, especially in the collapse of Build Back Better.
Yeah. No, I can dig that. Well, my number one, most of mine are pretty mean, and I'm not sorry. So my number one, I stayed away from wishing physical harm exactly, directly. Anyway,
I mostly
So-
did.
my number one, or my first, not the number one. We're going to work our way around to the number one. But my first on my list, Donald Trump is dragged before a court that has made a list of racketeering evidence and checked it twice. So, I keep hearing these murmurs that things are closing in, that it's getting closer and closer, and there's something that's going to happen. And without wishing the guy falling off a damn cliff or his health catching up with him, the only thing that's going to keep him out of the fucking trash heap of the mess that his party is and stirring up the stink is elimination by prison, or at least conviction, so that he's not eligible. So I don't know. It's one of those one can hope kinds of things. I have tried to give MSNBC segments some time, but they always have a clickbait headline that turns out to be nothing more than, a bunch of people like me and you just talking about what we think and what we want.
Yeah, I mean, and it's every now and then I love it. I can't remember his name. The guy, the editor of Above the Law. Whenever he shows up,
I know who you're talking about.
Because first of all, he has amazing hair. Second of all, he is an editor of an amazing publication. But there's just a lot of speculation, and the problem is the New York Southern District just always plays it just so close to the chest. On one hand, when they do go to court, they always bring a solid case, but it just takes so long for them,
Right.
because they dot the I's and cross the T's, and they go back and they double check that they dot the I's and cross the T's, and they go back and triple check it again, by which point either new evidence has shown up or some evidence may have gotten a little shaky. They can't find a witness, so they have to go back and start that portion of the process over again. So it can get a little bit revolving door-ish, and I it's one of those things where eventually you have to shit or get off the pot. And
right.
Well, we all hope.
I would love to, it would sure beat the shit out of last Christmas to wake up to Trump being in deep shit. Given that the bombing in Nashville was the gift that we got from the extreme right.
That was fun.
Well, now it's up to you for number 2 on your list, or your second entry on your list.
And I think we have a clip to lead this one off.
Oh, this is the one where we put the clip. This is the one.
This is the one where we're putting that clip.
All right, here we go. Let's see if you can guess from this classic Christmas footage.
We're Marley and Marley, avarice and greed. Took advantage of the poor, just ignored the needy. We specialized in causing pain, spreading fear and doubt. And if you could not pay the rent, we simply threw you out.
Yeah.
So on my wish list is that apparently Manchin wasn't opposed. The only person who was really opposed to this was Sinema, and God only knows what she's thinking about it now. But we need a wealth tax. inequality in the country has gotten way out of hand. And the way we address it is a wealth tax. We have inheritance taxes. We have all sorts of taxes that that are nominally supposed to be borne by the wealthiest more than the poorest. In reality, the problem is that we've one of the things that always shocks me is on a certain level, I can agree with the Republicans that we need to simplify the tax code. I just don't agree
Yeah.
with them on how we need to simplify it.
Right. Well,
Um,
when they say simplify, they really mean doing some fuzzy math that lets them still come out on top. I mean, that's
right,
that's the reality.
and it's not good. So I would wish for the wealthy millionaires and billionaires of America to be visited with a dose of Christmas spirit, with a dose of generosity of the season, and decide that it's time for them to pay their fair share and pay a wealth tax, not just on their income, but on the total value of their wealth that they hold. So, because with that, we can solve a massive amount of the deficit issues, and we can fund a massive amount of public service issues that need to be addressed, such as we need more public transit, we need childcare, we need to decrease taxes on the poorest Americans, we need to drastically reform how Social Security works. All these things we can afford if the rich were paying their fair share of taxes. Lucas, there's another little picture you might want to bring up because apparently my favorite person decided to tweet at
Oh boy.
Warren uh, about how much he was going to pay in taxes, which turned out, of course, to be an epic lie. Of course, I'm talking to Elon Musk, who want to say, well, I'm paying $11 million in taxes. No, he's not paying $11 million in taxes. And if he was paying $11 million, even in a world where he was, which he isn't, it would be because he actually probably owed $50 million and
right.
had avoided it. It is an endemic situation in the United States.
Well, you know what that means. You undoubtedly pitched a tent with
Yes.
an Elon Musk hate boner.
I did have an Elon Musk hate boner. There's the graphic. There it is. Yes. No. No. It is an endemic problem in this country.
And it's not the same as an inheritance tax, right? Like
No.
those are not synonymous terms. A lot of people start freaking out, even though I don't really fucking feel sorry for them. Like the whole idea that you get pitched is, well, what good is wealth if you can't just hold on to it and not have the government's hands on it? Well, it's because of the United States and our freedom and our security that your dumbass is allowed to hold on to it through securities in the way of financial institutions and securities in the way of guys with weapons that keep other people from literally stealing it from you.
Well, I mean,
So I don't have any mercy for that.
People forget that and here's the thing that bugs me. You have to remember, I started working in politics as a conservative.
Mhm.
And one of the things that I learned very quickly was that there are things that private corporations can do very well. Making products is something that private corporations do very well. The government has no business making your kids, Barbie doll or your car, right? Government shouldn't make your car. Other people who want to innovate, who want to build those factories should be in charge of that. That should be private business. Private businesses are very bad at doing things which need to work almost all the time because there's a profit incentive in them only working just enough, right?
Right.
So like healthcare, the goal every single time is you should walk out better than you walked in. But that's not what happens when you introduce a private profit motive. The private profit motive is it needs to work just enough, right? Because going for that extra mile, going for that extra bit costs you money. And you don't have to do it, right? You just have to get it so that they walk out well enough.
Yeah, right.
And it's the same with transportation. It's the same for, I would argue, in many cases, certain types of resource extraction. Um, the profit motive destroys the actual goal of what you're trying to do, right? If I'm trying to move people from point A to point B, which is like, say, the purpose of public transit or the purpose of infrastructure, um, getting them there as quickly as possible every single time, as quickly and safely as possible every single time, should be the goal. The problem is private business looks at it and says, I just need to get them there fast enough and
Mhm.
with a certain degree of safety, because anything I don't do on top of that is profit that I make.
Right.
And what I feel like when people think about people like Musk and the inheritance taxes, this is where I'm going with this. We need government to make roads. We need government to build railways. We need government to fund healthcare. We need government to fund schools, right? We need government to do all these things because private business is really bad at it. Because
Right.
there's there's a nonprofit motive or nonprofit adjacent goal that has to be achieved, right? That is not conducive to profit. And so we need government to do those things. And I think so many people don't get that. I mean, a lot of businesses don't get it. But then so many do. Like right now, Idaho has been told that several businesses which were planning on moving there are not, because Idaho has called into question whether or not they'll continue funding their public school system. And
Idaho, Idaho.
right, and so businesses have said, no, we're not going to move to Idaho. We're not going to
Yeah,
set up a
who
shop
would?
in Idaho
That's
because I
ridiculous.
have no guarantee that I can find workers who can actually read, write, add, and subtract.
Or who the fuck wants to come here with their family and work for me and send their kids to nowhere?
Right?
Well, it's time for my number two. So, as you may have guessed from the show graphic, I couldn't let him go by without commentary. Number two on my list: Kevin McCarthy's heart grows 3 sizes, and all the Who's in Whoville see justice done for his treason. I don't mean growing 3 sizes in a good way. I mean basically a medical emergency. But
Let's see. I
I'll
don't.
take
I
what I
don't
can
necessarily
get.
understand that. That's a good thing in the book. I don't.
No, not biologically. It's not a good thing for your heart to
No.
grow.
If your
Grow
heart
3
grows
sizes.
3 sizes, that's
Um,
how Andre the Giant died.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, have we ever had a McCarthy in American politics that wasn't a piece of shit? Like that's
Well,
my
they're
question.
related.
Oh, I did not realize that. Oh God, no wonder.
Yeah. No, it's the same
Uh,
family.
uh,
Yeah, they're related.
I don't have much more to say on that topic, so you can go ahead with your third entry.
No, I mean, like he constantly proves to be just such an ass, and the
Yeah,
fact that he wouldn't speak out about what Gozer did, and then he wouldn't speak out about Bobbert and her accusation that Ilhan Omar tried to blow her up in the elevator, which I'm
Oh,
just
right,
like, what the
right.
fuck? What the actual fuck? What the actual
It-
fuck is going on where you're accusing a fellow member of Congress of being, and Ilhan Omar said this entire incident never happened. And she challenged Bobbert to be like, what, either apologize or tell me what police officer, Capitol police officer who you tried to have murdered came to your defense.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, they're all just doubling down on the bottom of the barrel. They're, taking all of the standard memes of their shittiest base and running with it. They're just running right down the field as hard as they can. And unfortunately, not a lot of our people are jumping on them and tackling them.
Well, I mean, I think there definitely has been, we know why at Fox News, because Fox News got revealed through the Meadows text to be basically just an outfit to promote the Republican Party, plain and simple.
Yeah.
But
Newsflash. Ugh.
right.
Wait, that'd be a news alert.
Right. Whatever it is at Fox, I don't know. It's like took a dump and smeared it on the paper. Then I read it to you.
Yeah, pretty much. What is
I mean,
your number 3 on
all right,
your
we're going to jump to
on
my
your
number
lineup?
3. That the Senate should remember the spirit of peace and fraternity at Christmas and pass a bill guaranteeing the right for all Americans to vote.
Oh, you
And
mean that staple thing that makes us kind of unique? Yeah.
well, no, we're not unique. It's really not unique. We allow. I will say this: we allow more people to vote in more things
Right.
than anywhere else. But I mean, even in the European Union, non-citizens have the ability to vote a certain degree in certain elections. So there's
Well,
that.
if you
But
listen to the
we
right,
make more people citizens. So therefore, on average, we allow more people to vote.
if you
But
listen to the right, we don't make anybody citizens. They're all just illegal aliens, and they're all voting. Like, how
right,
the fuck that works?
I mean, it's like the group in Utah that tried to intimidate what they thought might have been illegal voters in liberal areas, right? Running around terrorizing people, knocking on their doors, saying, "Hi, I'm with the Utah Election Integrity Project. Would you like to answer a few questions about your vote?" And trying to get people to say how they voted, where they voted, so that they could build this catalog that they thought would reveal, uh, fake votes, which of course never happened. You have this bullshit in Pennsylvania where they're doing it. You have bullshit in Wisconsin where they're doing it, trying to find. We need to verify the integrity of the election. The election was completely fine. In fact, almost all the voter fraud that we're finding is on the Republican side, right? At least in terms of people who double voted.
Yeah.
It's bullshit, and on top of it, you should be able to vote however the hell you want to vote. If you want to vote early, you should be able to do that.
Oh,
If you want
yeah.
to,
Drive
if you want
through
to go in person
mail.
on election day, you should be able to do that. If I want to get a mail-in ballot, I should be able to do that. In fact, to make it easier for everyone, you should just go ahead and send me a ballot with my voter ID number on it, which should be blocked out in the system. It should just simply say, "Here's a number." It's on your voter ID, unless they have my voter ID card in front of them to match the name to the number. But other than that, I should be able to have, here's my voter registration number. Here's who I vote for, and mail it back in. I should be able to write it on a piece of paper and mail it to them.
Well, they'll never go for that. But yeah, it is interesting how the effort to keep people from voting is so clearly up front and not even attempted to be hidden at this point. And it's such a weird, weak play that depends on people being complete ignoramus dumb fucks about the process and civics and law. I mean, no cursory understanding whatsoever of how voting works. No curiosity to learn anything. It's the whole nine. Well, number 3 over here for me, Ted Cruz visits a snowy bridge and is visited by an angel of death who already has his fucking wings, gives no fucks, and helps Ted jump. I told you I tried, but I couldn't avoid it. So
I like the Wonderful Life reference. I
got to thinking, who should have an "It's a Wonderful Life" moment? Oh, it should be Ted Cruz, but he shouldn't make it out of the first
I also
act.
like the picture of the snowy bridge, considering what happened last winter in Texas.
Oh, yes, right, yeah. I should have said a snowy bridge in Cancun or something, but
Right.
That really, for me, with him, that analogy applies to going back and seeing himself when he was abused by Trump, when he said things that are entirely contradictory to everything else that he's like, having to confront his wonderful life and hypocrisy thereof. But I mean, maybe he just can't think anymore. The mountain man beard has pulled all of his brains down through his grits hole. But holy shit.
I think it's there to hide syphilis. But I mean, honestly, I think there's so much about Ted Cruz that he's just he's patently there to be the most opportunistic politician that I think anyone had seen up until we got Bobbert and Green. I mean,
Yeah.
he's Harvard educated.
At
But
least
I mean,
he's a
also
politician. They're not even really. I wouldn't call them politicians. They're just opportunistic, basic ass Karens. I mean, he's at
well, I
least
mean,
a bona fide politician.
it's like Crenshaw said. Like, there's people there to legislate, and then there's people there to be performance artists. And I think I will give Cruz credit on this point. I think Cruz splits the difference a little bit between performance artist and actually wanting to legislate. The problem is that he's bad at it. He's bad at both, really. He's not a very good performance artist. As someone pointed out when he was doing his whole a few years ago, when he was doing his whole holding up the entire Senate and refusing to vote on the debt ceiling, he posted a picture of him sitting at a chessboard, being like, "Your move," and everyone looked at the picture of the chessboard. They're like, "You set up the chessboard wrong. Do you know how to play chess? Do you own a chessboard and not know how to play chess?"
Oh, but of course.
I mean, it's this thing where he's
a Republican.
Doesn't have a lot of. He doesn't have a very high degree of self-awareness, and I think it's something that gets mentioned a lot, and I think Cruz is the ultimate distillation of it in a way that even Green and Bobbert aren't, which is the ultimate position of conservatives in the United States today is, what do you want? Power. Just power. I just want power. Money is nice. Money gives me power.
Right.
Power is nice. Power gives me money, which gives me more power. I mean, they just want power. And it doesn't matter what they have to say. I mean, because again, Cruz went to a school where they would have taught him the difference. I find it very hard to believe that someone who went to Harvard doesn't know how to set up a chessboard. He just doesn't care. Right.
Or he thinks it's redistricting and he should just rig it ahead of time.
Right.
So you're right about the power thing. And I almost said, power and sticking it to the libs, but sticking it to the libs is just the trope that they use to fool their dipshit base into rewarding them with more power. So that computes. What is fourth in your lineup, sir?
Well, before we do fourth, I suggest we stop for a beer break, because we're moving along at a clip.
Are you dried out?
No, I can go ahead and do this one right here.
Oh, okay. So you're going to review what you're drinking now.
Yeah, I can review what I'm drinking right now.
You start talking about that, but before you can, of course, we got to kick it off. If you are drinking along on this holiday broadcast, crack them open. It's time for beer break.
Yeah. So I have this. Let's see if we can get it.
Wait for it. Pull back a little. Some blurry shit. There you go. Calf Killer.
J. Henry Mild Ale. So I really like everything that Calf Killer does. Their red ales are delicious. Their IPAs are delicious. Their porters are, well, you can't be perfect. But man, I gotta say, this mild ale it's just
mild.
Like, it's just like that old Futurama skit about like the neutrals. Like, we neither hate nor you neither hate nor like this thing. It's just it feels like a brown ale that doesn't want to grab like nuttiness by its balls and shake them around. It's a red ale that doesn't want to have enough hop.
Gotcha.
I mean, even the smell.
It looks like it would be more beefy. It's dark as fuck.
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like
it is definitely opaque, but
yeah,
it just hangs out. The only thing I could compare this to, like that something else would be like. And here's the other thing: is like once you drink it, it just disappears. Hold on, what's that? I'm a little blurry again.
Yep.
There we go.
You and your beer close-ups, man.
Yeah. Once you drink it, it just disappears. Like you drink it, and it says hello, and then there's literally no aftertaste. There's no finish. It's just
Well, so far though, I mean, they said it was mild. So.
I mean, yeah, but it is so mild. It is so mild. Here's and again, it's one of those things of I can't. It doesn't do anything to offend other than simply being. It's like a Senate Democrat. I mean, it doesn't.
That's the perfect comparison. It really is.
It doesn't do anything necessarily to offend. It just doesn't do anything of what I want it to do either. I mean, it doesn't. It doesn't show up with any sort of like real flavor other than a little bit of malt, and then just checks out as quickly as. I mean, it's like a New York Christmas. Hi. Here's some food. Get the fuck out of my apartment.
Well,
I just wish Calf Killer took some time to make this, have a little bit more punch somewhere. Like either make it maltier, make it hoppier, make it, give it a little bit of a chocolate note or some, nutty notes, or hell, if you want to go wild, go crazy, give it like a little bit of like with an ale like this, give it a little bit of banana note. And it has no note. It's just a little bit of malt and then goodbye.
Well, speaking of punchy, I have the opposite effect. While I do this, you can try to get your focus fixed because
right.
you are very drunko-vision in your. There you go. So speaking of punchy. I saw this on the shelf and it jumped right out at me. This is Dark Horse Brewing, Marshall, Michigan. This is Check to the Head cream ale. I love this.
They have another cream ale?
Hilarious artwork.
How is it that they have two cream ales?
Well, I don't know, but this one works. This one has got the hockey theme. So cream ale brewed with Michigan hops for a slap shot to the nose of citrus and tropical aromas.
Well, no, because they're on tap at work.
Yeah,
with another cream ale.
Well,
that's just simply called cream ale.
Slight red tint, approachable malty mouthfeel, accurate, balanced hop notes. I dig it, and it's great as an element in hockey season and a nice little nod to the really good record going on right now for our
I double checked. It's just the Wild ahead of us in the division. So if we can figure out a pass game and apparently now how to not have COVID,
right? Yeah,
the whole league
should
be good.
To have that issue at the moment. So yeah, I dig this. Let's see. You're left wondering why you never took a shot at professional hockey, and then you realize that you're much better suited to be driving the ice resurfacer. I wonder why they didn't say Zamboni. Is that like a trademark?
It's copyrighted.
Anyway, it's good stuff. I like it. I'm glad that I could have it around. It's a good drinking beer. And last night I did a lot of higher alcohol stuff, so it's nice to take a little break.
After last week, I definitely took some time, and unfortunately, I had to get kicked out of Mafias a little bit early.
What, did you start another fight at the fire pit?
I did not start a fight at the fire pit this time. No, they were having the Christmas party. The first ever closed Mafios' Christmas party.
Oh, that's
because
right, because you've been to the party before.
yeah, no, like normally it's a big deal in Nashville to get an invite to
Yeah.
the Mafiosa's
Yeah.
Christmas party.
But,
That's like
given
you
COVID
you
and
are
surges,
somebody important when you get an invite to the Mafiosa's Christmas party.
it sounds like a
Uh,
responsible thing to do, though, given the surges and COVID and variants and all that shit.
and that's why they did it. That's why they did
Yeah.
it. That, like every now and then I look at Dolan and I'm kind of like, and Lars has been AWOL. Apparently, I talked to Dolan last night because he was there getting prepped. Lars, the other owner of Mafiosis, has apparently been off getting his MBA, which good for Lars. I guess it's never too late to start because he's got to be what 55, something in that realm. So good for Lars.
Yeah.
And Dolan and I definitely have disagreements about style of things, but I respect Dolan. By the way, for those of you who aren't in the know, these are the owners of Mafiosis, which is a Nashville institution.
Mafiosis
in
is
terms of
fucking fantastic, and it's how I originally met your ass. So that's good. It's important for us. Let's get back to the Santa list. Whose turn is it? Is it your turn?
it's my turn. I call
You
for
were
the
on
beer
your
break.
fourth item, right?
Yep, it is time for my fourth item because I'm looking at the clock, being like, Jesus, we are just rushing through this.
Well, we've got to save time for the star of the show.
This is true. I mean, we're
And
gonna have time. We're gonna have time for the star.
We also don't have the rolling commentary, so a little bit of our normal fun is not present, and we're going to depend on people to entertain us later with their wish list items.
Right. So my fourth wish is for Chief Justice Roberts to have 4 new justices under his tree on Christmas morning.
Yeah.
I don't like the idea. Here's the thing. I've talked about packing the court here before. And I want to be very clear. I don't like the idea of packing the court. I don't think in any other circumstance other than what we find ourselves in now, I don't think it would ever be appropriate. I would be the one calling for a constitutional amendment to say we need to limit it to 9 permanently. I think because of what McConnell and the Republicans have done and weaponizing the judiciary, especially after the hearings that we saw under Trump, which were just so half-assed and just rubber stamping these people in a way that would have never been acceptable any time before. I mean, Senator Kennedy who obviously has no relation to the other Kennedys, but Senator Kennedy from Louisiana just rubber stamping these people and getting his drawl on, explaining, well, you sound like a good boy. You sound like I'm like, can you sound more like a Klan member? Oh, wait, yes, you probably could because you probably were one. I think after that happened, I think it's appropriate that we need to recognize that that the judiciary is now weaponized. Do I think it should be de-weaponized? Yes, I think we should have. I think Article 3 should be scrapped in its entirety and a whole new series of amendments passed to replace Article 3. I don't think that the Senate should be in charge of appointing judges anymore, other than to confirm them, but not from the president. I feel like the judiciary should nominate its own successors. Because they're the ones who actually went to law school and know what the law is. It's one of my complaints about the idea of so many states have elected Supreme Courts. I'm like, that's not appropriate at all. And the reason is because the majority of people voting have no clue who they're voting for or why they're voting for them. They've just been told by somebody that I should vote for this person. It's not like, at least when you're voting for a politician, right? You can look at their policies and be like, how does that affect me? How does that affect me? For the majority of the time, like trying to figure out the difference between living document versus originalist. Are you, where do you stand on original jurisdiction and how to apply that? Where do you stand on substantive due process? Where do you stand on all these purely necessarily esoteric legal principles, right? Are you a big fan of the UCC, or do you want to have it repealed? Are you a fan of the MPC, the Model Penal Code? Or would you rather be like Idaho, who takes the MPC and butchers it all to hell and creates something that nobody even could recognize as coming from the MPC?
For me, I was very much on the fence, but once all this abortion shit started to move in, I was just, that was it. I was like,
I saw
what?
the worst comic the other day.
Pack the court. Fuck them. Fuck it. Fuckity fuck.
I saw the worst comic the other day. One was, what do you get a woman in Texas for Christmas? And the first panel was 2020, and it was like a saloon jacket with like a bunch of fringes and things on it, hanging up there in the closet. And the next panel was 2022. And it's just the hanger.
Damn. Wow.
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Boy. That's good. That's good commentary, though.
I mean, I think
why 4, David? Before we let this one go.
So for those of you who don't know, one of the nice things that 9 justices offer us is a clear decision every single time. There will be a majority and there will be a minority. So the reason you put in 4 justices is because 9 plus 4 equals 13, right? So we have an odd number of justices, which means there will be a clear majority and a clear minority.
But wouldn't 2 ring a little bit more?
No, because we at this point, we between Barrett and her semi-Catholic cult, Kavanaugh, who's never met a woman of any type. I'm not gonna comment about his daughters and their white power signals, but has never met a woman of any type that he thought was his equal. Then we have Thomas, who's just crack fucking crazy, and Gorsuch just waits for the RNC to send him his marching orders, or the Federalist Society, one or the other. I think we need to recognize that the conservatives have been weaponizing the judicial space for a while, and the Federalist Society has been leading it, and they are an awful organization.
But right now it's 5-4. Right?
No, right now it's 6-3.
6-3. But occasionally Roberts is reasonable.
Roberts is an institutionalist.
And then if you add only 2, it's 5-5 with Roberts occasionally reasonable.
Right.
So I guess, geez, that's a lot. I was trying to find a dignified way out of this where, there could be restraint.
No, fuck restraint. Fuck restraint. The Federalist Society threw restraint to the wind a long time ago.
I tend to agree.
I don't care. Like, let's skip the whole, like, you fire a bullet, I fire a grenade, you fire a cannon, I fire like a bazooka. Like,
what is the real process for that? Let's just say Christmas morning, Uncle Joe wakes up and says, "You know what? I'm going to do it."
Then he just does it.
But what happens?
He nominates 4 justices to the court. Period.
And then we get to sit there and watch them be stonewalled all the way to the midterm.
Good luck. You don't have a majority.
But can't they still block them based on?
No, they tried. No. So here's what happened.
So the 50 is enough. Of course, we can't depend on who. But I mean, can it just be jammed through?
Yeah.
Ooh, he could do recess appointments. That would be fun.
That could be really fun.
Or recess appointments.
But I mean, yeah, he could appoint as many. Here's the thing: there is no law specifying the number of Supreme Court justices. There's no amendment to the Constitution. There's no regulation of any kind which says how many justices there's supposed to be. We just settled on 9. You have to remember, it started with 3, it went to 5, then it stayed at 5 for a while.
And it's been stuck at 9 for a real fucking long time.
Yeah, well, because
out of line with the demographics of the nation.
In the 19th century, we got to 9, and we kind of stayed there. And there was a big push under FDR to take it up to 13. And the reason why was because Hoover had really packed the court with a lot of conservatives who were really determined at first to strike down the New Deal. And then Hoover basically walked them and be like, I will simply, I think Hoover's number was, I'll appoint 9 more justices. I don't even care that it's an even number. I'll just appoint 9 more justices.
I don't think this
on top of you.
This administration doesn't have the backbone to do this.
I don't think Biden does. I think Biden. Man,
I think the Democrats strategically overall would frown on it because they would say that would be a galvanizing way to make sure that the midterm had a giant conservative turnout, and they would refuse to understand that it's insurance. It's an insurance policy for the future. It's the only legitimate permanent play. Can it be reduced?
What?
How easily can it be reduced?
It can't.
You can never return.
I mean, you can
choose just not to appoint. Yeah, so you can let
you have to wait for them to die or retire.
Yeah. Okay.
But you can't fire a Supreme Court justice.
Well, right. I wasn't sure if there was any other. Well, I guess
you can impeach.
You can impeach him. Yeah. Right. Okay.
Which, I mean, God knows Thomas should be.
Well, that ship sailed.
So should
it sailed over and over the same ass multiple times.
Right? No, I mean, because Thomas is likely guilty of perjury multiple times over. Kavanaugh is likely guilty of perjury multiple times over. The only honest, at least semi-honest two conservative jurists on there are Gorsuch and Roberts. Alito, it makes no bones about the fact that he doesn't actually care what the Constitution says as long as he can have a conservative principle put in there. Thomas doesn't. I don't even know if there's a conservative principle that he's making other than I hate, liberals and black people, which is special because I am one. Which is probably why he married. I mean, I'm not going to cast any further aspersions beyond this, but he did marry a conservative, race-hating white woman, which I gotta wonder how. Was it just that big? Was that what it was?
You know what? I'm so glad you went there because that segues nicely to my fourth installment. So you may be asking yourself, what does Clarence Thomas's chocolate junk have to do? But here we go. So my next installment on my wish list is every January 6th insurrectionist is imprisoned and their nights are filled with visions of sugar plums in prison. Big, dangling, chocolate, salty sugar plums every night in your face. So, I mean, that one guy, this dipshit that's in my fucking news feed over here on the other screen, whatever his name is. Oh, boy. Devlin Thompson. Devlyn.
Whenever you hear those, I mean, I don't know if it's true in the North, like if there's any sort of names up in the North that are just scream super country. But in the South, Devlin screams like, you have known a home without running water.
Yeah. A home with more wheels than pipes. Yes.
Oh, no. Screw the wheels. That's a rich man's home.
Yeah, right. Well, you take the wheels off once you park it on the
No. Like
40.
How are you going to roll the shanty boards, man?
Once your daddy tells you where you can put your trailer, you just take the wheels off, and then you wait till your son puts his trailer on the same muddy cul-de-sac in the middle of fucking nowhere. Anyway, these pieces of shit, I want them all in prison. I want every one of them in fucking prison. Actually, I want a few of them on a gallows, but one of them got that taken care of right through the window on her ass. So hey, but the bitch that got shot. The one that the one that I don't feel sorry for at all.
Actually spelled in the most random ass way that I've ever seen.
Because she, say it with us now, fucked around and found out. So,
Which I put it up there, but I gotta, just a slight aside, I gotta give Gallego credit
I saw
for
that. Yeah.
calling out the entire Russian Federation with "fuck around and find out."
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, Gallego is the Democrat representative from the Arizona 7th, and he recently went on a fact-finding tour to Ukraine to recommend to Biden that we increase our military aid in preparation for Russia's, increasingly likely invasion of that country, which threw off the shackles of Russian domination just a few years ago. And apparently the Russian government is very angry with Gallego, and so they found a far-right cutout to go on TV and say that Gallego should be abducted as an enemy combatant. And they went on to Twitter to mention it, and Gallego's response was "fuck around and find out."
Yep.
And I gotta
so
say,
glad.
I love, man. I gotta say, I don't know too much about Gallego's politics, but I want to learn more. Like, can we put him up for cinema seat? Does Gallego want an upgrade? Hell, if Gallego wants to have those kind of big meaty balls, can we put him up for maybe an office that Biden maybe doesn't want so much anymore?
Or just organize a tag team match, and his partner could be John Fetterman.
Right? Oh, stop! I can only get so erect.
So now we're up to our number one picks, our fifth installment on our list, our top wish. I think we have
the same wish for this, right?
We both generally have the same wish or the same topic. So I let you read yours first, and then you've got an accompanying festive clip to
I do.
to go with your sentiments.
That Manchin receives the gift of an IRS audit of his finances, and that his lump of coal catches fire on the hearth rather than in it.
Yep. And for this, you have given me a request for a special moment from a beloved film. So, in honor of David's feelings on Manchin and his likely bribery scandals, let's roll this clip.
Out! Oh, it's you, creep. God.
Aren't you supposed to be in the studio? We're on the air. Hey, back off, big man. That may work with the chicks, but not with me. Is this straight? May I? Did our people do that? We're gonna get phone calls.
My favorite thing about that is that it's such an analogous, TV production thing to the whole Fox thing.
Right? I mean, it's also just Manchin being like, here's the ghost of Christmas yet to come. And did our people do that?
Yeah. Well, since mine's the same, before we dive into Manchin, I will read my entry, and then we'll double down on the bastard. But I had a very similar approach for the exact same characterization. My final wish on my list was Joe Manchin will be visited by three spirits who will somehow introduce him to scruples and a soul. And this was after my reaction to hearing the incredibly unsurprising, very on-brand news that he had flipped, to which my reaction can only be described with another classic holiday clip as follows.
And I want to look him straight in the eye, and I want to tell him what a cheap, lying, no-good, rotten, four-flushing, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, inbred, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, spotty-lipped, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is! Hallelujah! Holy shit! Where's the Tylenol?
And this brings us to Probably the biggest thing on our list mutually. This son of a bitch, or just bitch, that is Joe Manchin.
Well, I gotta say, the thing that pisses me off the most is apparently what sent him over the edge. What sent him over the edge was the child tax credit. Now, I want to point out the child tax credit has been attributed to reducing childhood poverty in the United States by 50%. Not 15, not 10, not 25. 50%. 50%
Yeah.
of those children who were in poverty, their parents got a check. And when they went back and they wanted to see, all right, are you eating better? Are things getting better? 50% of childhood poverty was eliminated by the revised child tax credit.
And this has such a barometer indicator on economics because of that and other things that Goldman lowers the 2022 growth forecast based on this shit. Like it's like this reality, this news is tugging at the little pubes on the money sack, the money ball sack of the right. Like it's all there.
And that's what, to some people who might not understand my Christmas wish, Manchin walked into the White House on Friday, and he and Biden had an agreement to be like, I think we're close. We just need to figure out a way, because Manchin created out of whole cloth this idea that everything had to be funded for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's like, well, this $2.5 trillion is only funded for 2 years or 3 years or 1.5 years. So I need it all funded for 10 years. Well, the childhood tax credit over 10 years is $1.4 trillion, right? That the federal government has to pay out over 10 years. So Manchin wanted to make it sound like this was a $7 trillion bill, which it wasn't, right? He created this thing. I feel like someone got to him in between Friday and Sunday. And I really, knowing Manchin's history and knowing how him and his entire family work, one of two things happened. Either the Republicans walked up to him with a fat check and said, we're going to put up the most buck-toothed moron who is ever, like, literally can't wipe his ass without assistance for you, so that you hold on to your seat forever. Or here's a check for God knows how many millions of dollars into your war chest, and will still probably, because it's West Virginia, probably still not be able to put up a Republican who can wipe his own ass.
Well, is it really that weird?
They might just be prettier. They'll have blonde hair.
Is it really that weird for anybody in West Virginia to be put up for anything who can wipe their ass or has good teeth? I mean, we're not exactly talking about the rock star state of the union here.
No, and so I feel like someone got to Manchin in between Friday and Sunday. The only other thing that I can think of, other than him being paid off, is that it's what's called compromat. I had to teach Lucas this word before the show.
At first, I thought that his feed skipped. I was like, compromise? Okay, no, go ahead.
Compromat is what the KGB called having something that you didn't want to have released. So the KGB would flip you based upon compromat,
like piss and hookers or something,
right? Hey, who no, real.
Ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah, who knows? But there's also the threat of reality.
There's no way you go from that place to a hard no in that amount of time without someone, especially when you've been in negotiations for that long.
Unless you're just that shitty and that stupid.
Here's the thing: Manchin has been playing this game for a long time, and Manchin is a political operator. He is, without question, a political operator. For him to go a hard no, and of all things on Fox News,
Yeah.
I feel like that's something it's been communicated. Hey, this is the terms of the deal, right? We need you
Well,
to go in front of our people and make the Democrats look weak and stupid, and make Biden look weak and stupid.
so I like what I keep hearing, especially in the Twitterverse. I've seen a lot of people saying, "All right, well, fuck him. Let's just move on. Let's try to work on the Republicans that we can get on board. Let's give up on his dumb ass and try to battle some Republican seats that we could potentially gain." Like, there's all these
Well, I mean, I feel hopeful for
the hell with
Missouri.
Manchin ideas. I have always wondered why we fucked with his ass. Fuck him.
Because and it's the same reason. And you and I talked about this before. The example I use for Manchin is Zell Miller, which
Right.
for most of our viewers, they will have no fucking clue who the fuck that asshole was. Zell Miller was a Democrat senator out of Georgia. Zell Miller basically lived his life to gargle Republican balls. That was his entire purpose. Like
When he could get them past the Klan hood
he
to
would
his
take
mouth.
all the peanut butter off that Georgia farm and just really just make sure that he smeared it all over the Republican balls.
Yeah.
And like the peanut oil, he just make sure he lube up his ass real nice for them to like just to shove the whole fucking fist up there. Zell Miller was an awful human being, but the Democrats tolerated him because they thought we can't win in Georgia. We can't win. But Zell Miller can win. And so since Zell Miller can win and he's willing to be a Democrat in Georgia, we'll support Zell Miller. I also want to point out Zell Miller made a thing about being a Democrat, speaking at Republican presidential conventions in favor of the Republican candidate.
Yeah.
This is how compromised that situation was. Zell Miller would vote for Democratic majority leader and would vote with Democrats in committee. But if you ever asked him if he ever had nice thoughts about black people, progressive democracy, or anything else, he would probably burn a cross on your lawn.
Yeah. He was one of my first introductions to this kind of principle. This dino shitty, who the fuck are these people and why do we tolerate them presence.
And I get why people have tolerated Manchin, right? Because the Democratic Party said, well, it's a seat we wouldn't get otherwise, right? Because Manchin is willing to put a D next to his name simply because at some point in the past we offered him the best deal.
Can he be kicked out of the party?
Oh, sure.
But then that automatically becomes a minority.
Yeah, we become the minority party, and that's what.
What if he flips on his own? What if like
it's happened before?
What if between now when we're filming this and the actual broadcast in a couple of days, he just says, you know what, and I'm going all in. I'm a Republican now.
No, he won't. I'm going to tell you why. Is because there are plenty of people who have slurped the state party's schlong in West Virginia who would expect to be put in as Republican senator from West Virginia over and above Manchin.
Okay.
If the Republicans accepted Manchin as because it's happened before. Arlen Specter is the classic example. Arlen Specter was a Republican from Pennsylvania, and he got tired of the Republicans, and he switched parties in the middle of in the middle of the session,
Right.
and gave Democrats control.
I feel like that is just, that's the cherry on top of this prick, though.
But here's the deal: is that the Republicans. This is one of the things that I think that we as leftists always have a problem with. Republicans fall in line, leftists / Democrats fall in love.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And again, this is one of the reasons why they can't give Manchin. Even if Manchin was like, "Well, I want to switch parties," they'll be like, "Well, we're still going to run a primary against you." Which is another thing: is Manchin won't switch because he'd get primaried. Right? He's not far enough right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a horrifying point, but yeah, that's true.
Manchin may be an asshole, but he's not a Nazi. So
now what? That's the question. Now what? Because all the buzz is that
the
Build Back
problem
Better
is
is
that
dead.
we
Blah
need to
blah
pick,
blah.
we need to pick up another Senate seat. That's the truth. We should have taken Susan Collins' seat, except the main Democratic Party decided to put up a fluff ball against Susan Collins in the form of the Speaker of the State House, who, man, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't live in Maine, but I know Mainers, right? The principal thought in every Mainer's mind is, are you a Mainer? Right?
Okay.
They the reason Susan Collins can be an epic bitch who fucks them over and they'll still vote for her is she's a Mainer. Right? Angus King, literally, he's an independent. He caucuses with the Democrats, but no one cares because he's a Mainer. Right? The Speaker of the State House is, among things she wasn't, a Mainer. You do not run a non-Mainer for state office in the state of Maine. It's that simple. I'm like the joke of it is you could have a baby born in Vermont and at the first minute of its birth transported over the state line into Maine, and that baby could live there their entire life, and in the obituary the paper would say Vermont native. Right?
Okay.
It is a culture. It is a thing. I do not understand why the Democratic Party in Maine, and on top of it, Gideon did not have, was not a progressive, did not get people in Maine excited about coming out to vote for a Democrat, and so Collins got to carry the vote.
But okay, but other than waiting till the midterm to do something, what happens between now and this time next year?
I think Manchin just took a bunch of political capital and set it on fire.
Do you think basically he starts getting backs turned on him now, and he
I
finds
think
it harder to
needs
have
friends now.
camaraderie?
Manchin needs friends. He knows he's not going to get them from the Republican Party. He knows he needs friends now. Which again, I got to look at him and be like, you were bought or you were compromised, one or the other, because there's no good reason why you would literally take all that political capital that you had built up and set it on fire. He literally took probably about half to 3/4 of his entire political capital as a Democratic senator in the United States Congress and set it on fire for apparently no good reason. Right?
I know this. I want the Freedom of Information Act to be filed at some point to hear the voicemail, phone call, Oval Office meeting, whatever, because I have to imagine that this news was the point at which Uncle Joe went full Nixon.
Right, and so I think Manchin's apparently floated the
Or
idea
full
of
Johnson,
right. I mean, no, Manchin has apparently floated the idea as a mea culpa of reforming the filibuster. But the problem is that he won't actually reform the filibuster. What his idea that he's floating is, well, we'll make it a talking filibuster. Okay, so in other words, if you're the minority party, you have to sit and continue to talk. Except the only problem is the flip side of Manchin's proposal is, guess what it takes to end the conversation? How many votes does it take to end the conversation? 60 fucking votes. It still takes 60 votes to end the debate. It's cosmetic.
Yeah,
It's
right.
putting it's literally putting lipstick on the pig. And
one day I will say, though, at least it requires the parties engaging in said filibuster to balls up and do the thing. Like, if there was ever a time when I mustered just a itsy bitsy smidgen of respect for McCarthy, it was the willingness to at least put his mouth where his fluffer dick is. Like, you know, it
Well, you do remember?
at least he did the
Wait,
thing.
Senator McCarthy or Representative McCarthy? Just to clarify.
Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah, there is no filibuster in the House.
Yeah, but his all-nighter to block Nancy Pelosi and all that shit.
Oh no, yeah, okay. So it's
His magic minute, you know.
right.
At least he ballsed up and did the thing.
That's not a filibuster. There is no.
It doesn't matter. It's the same principle. Like, and that's it made it both mildly respectable and twice as insulting that he's part of that movement. He's part of that corrupt right-wing movement. He's got the willingness to do that, but he wouldn't have his colleagues in the other house do the same to conduct a filibuster. Like, it didn't earn any real cred, but at least he was man enough to stand there and talk forever, where his colleagues down the hall won't even do that.
I mean, it's a thing. For him, it had no difference, right? Because time is limited by the rules of the House.
For him, it was just grandstanding anyway.
It really was. It was just him eating up junior members' time, who probably weren't going to say what he wanted them to say anyway.
Well, Manchin, you know, as far as I'm concerned, needs to be plunged straight into a fiery pit at the end of a Dickens tale. I hope that something turns and flips, and you know, I hope it works. But we are trying to keep it kind of under control tonight because we want to let you come in, watch it, and drop your comments. So it's about that time. It's time to go make our lists and check them twice and get ready for the magic of the special day. But thank you all for joining in. Please, again, leave your dear Democrat Santa and little baby liberal Jesus wishes in the comments. And we will wish you all the best holiday warmth, whether you're already engaged in one of the many other holidays or the holiday a couple of days after this is your holiday. We hope the season's been kind to you. And by the way, keep your eyes on your mailbox, sir. I've sent you a little.
Oh no!
So I'm sure we'll cover that.
Now I'm going to have to send you a gift or something.
We may be talking about that gift next week, depending on how it arrives. So thanks for joining us, folks. And as always, good night,
good evening,
and good luck.
Good luck.